Hi everyone, my name is Macanas-Serrano and I'm here to share you how I live in this contemporary world. In this globalized world, we're constantly asked to adjust, adopt, achieve, and succeed. We scroll, we post, we study, we hustle, and sometimes we lose ourselves in the pressure to keep up. But what does it really mean living in this fast-moving world? Today, allow me to speak who I am, not just by my name, but by the many roles that I carry. As a B.Ed student, as a leader, as a friend, as a daughter, as a wife, a woman who's dealing with health conditions, as a disciple, and above all, a woman living by faith. Let me walk you through how I navigate in this life, one at a time, with the grace and guidance of God. Tara, samahan niyo ako. As a Bachelor of Elementary Education student, I am preparing for a life of service. In a world full of informations and distractions, I am choosing to dedicate my future to nurturing young minds. But let me be honest, it's not easy. There are days when I feel drained from lesson planning, studying, and balancing everything. There are times I wonder, can I really do this? Especially when comparing myself to others who seem to have it all together. But I remind myself that this is my calling. I'm not just earning a degree. I'm being equipped to shape future generations. And that's powerful. Kahit sinasabi nilang wala namang kita dyan sa education. Kahit minsan nadi-discourage ka because ang tingin lang nila sa mga teacher ay mababa. But this world needs educators who care, who can adapt, and who can teach with heart. And that's who I'm becoming. Step by step, page by page, prayer by prayer. Proverbs 4:7 says, "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding." And that is my goal. Not just to pass exams, but to gain understanding of children, of life, and of how God wants to use me in this noble profession. But beyond the classroom, I am also called to step up in other spaces, not just to learn, but to lead. Being a leader in today's society comes with both opportunities and pressures. In a globalized world, leadership is no longer just about positions. It's about influence. Yung tipong alam na nila yung rule na pag nagmura sila, magbabayad sila. Kasi that's how leadership is, valuing values. As a leader, I've had to step up in roles where people look to me for decisions, strength, and inspiration. Sometimes I feel prepared, other times I feel like I'm still learning how to lead myself. But what anchors me is this: leadership is service. Jesus himself led not by power, but by humility. Matthew 20:26 says, "Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant." So I ask myself often, not how many are following me, but who am I serving today? I use my voice to uplift others, to remind them of their worth, and to help create spaces of kindness, not competition. In a world where we're often told to climb higher, I choose to go deeper. Deeper in compassion, in listening, in love. And as a leader, I pray not to become the center, but to point others to the one who gives true strength. Leadership has taught me a lot, but one of the most important lessons is the value of relationships. And that brings me to another role that deeply shapes my heart, being a friend. Friendship in this era looks different. We text, we chat, we react to stories, we send voice notes, but many people still feel alone. As a friend, I've learned the value of being present, even from a distance. Sometimes, a simple "How are you really?" or a silent prayer for someone is more powerful than 1,000 words. I've learned to be a safe space, not just someone who's fun to be with, to celebrate with my friends in victories and sit quietly with them during valleys. And when I need help, I've learned to reach out to. Vulnerability has made my friendships deeper and more meaningful. In Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 says, "Two are better than one. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up." I want to be that kind of friend, and I'm grateful for a few who are that one to me. In this fast-paced world, real friends are treasures, and I hold mine close.
Mahiwagang salamin, kailan ka lang ang aking ang iyong tunay ng pagtingin. Salamin, 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 parang kailangan mo na ng salamin. Maliit, pwede sa bag, at pwede mong dalhin kahit saan. Live your own passion. You can use it anytime, anywhere. It is everywhere. It is always there. Yeah.
Kasi, yes, medyo mabait ka ngayon ah.
Just like friendships, our families are our first community. And while we grow and change, our roots remain. And so does my role within my family. In a globalized society, families can become distant, not just physically, but emotionally. But I believe in nurturing those bonds. As a daughter, I serve with love. I honor my father's sacrifices, and I remember that the values he taught me are the same values I carry as I grow. And as a sister, I choose to be a safe space, a cheerleader, sometimes a second mom. And yes, even a friend who sends silly memes or just listen on bad days. Yes, I get angry too. I have emotions. I need to express it. And they're my family. My family isn't perfect, but it's one of God's greatest gifts. Exodus 20 verse 12 says, "Honor your father and your mother so that you may live long in the land." That's not just a commandment, it's a blessing. Even in moments of disagreement or distance, I choose to love them well. I check in, I help where I can, I try to be patient because I know they too are navigating their own challenges in this modern world. Within that family, I've stepped into a sacred and lifelong partnership, one that refines me every day, my role as a wife. Being a wife is one of the most intimate and humbling roles I carry. In a world where love can seem transactional, we choose covenant over convenience. Marriage for me is a partnership, a place of grace, learning, and laughter. We don't always get it right. We sometimes argue, disagree, or grow tired. But we always come back to each other in prayer and love. We try to build a home where God is at the center, not just during good days, but especially when things feel heavy. Ephesians 5 verse 33 says, encourages husbands to love and wives to respect. And I do my best to live this out, not perfectly, but purposefully. In our world, being a godly spouse is countercultural, but it's also deeply fulfilling. Because in this role, I don't just love, I grow.
Huwag mong pigilan, hayaan mong kusa. Humawag ka sa'kin, sundin ang damdamin. O sumama ka sa'kin, at tayo ay sasayaw sa kulog at ulan.
But even as I strive to love and serve well, I carry unseen battles, ones that challenge me physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Let's talk about what many people don't see. Living with PCOS and high blood pressure means facing physical and emotional battles daily. There are days when I feel strong and days when I just want to rest and cry. I deal with weight changes, hormone imbalances, fatigue, and sometimes fear about the future. But I've learned to listen to my body and extend compassion to myself. This is not a weakness, it's a reality, and I won't let it define or disqualify me. Instead, I allow it to shape me into someone more empathetic, more courageous, and more prayerful. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." So on the days I feel weak, I rest in the truth that God is still working. I may be managing a health condition, but I'm also managing my purpose, and I choose not to give up. So yes, I have limitations, but I also have a deeper strength because of it. I am not my diagnosis. I am a fighter, a woman of faith, a work in progress. These challenges have reminded me of something important, that beyond what I do for others, I must also remember who I am at the core. Before all the roles and responsibilities, I am simply me, a woman learning to be kind to herself, learning to set boundaries, learning to rest, not out of laziness, but out of love for her own body and spirit. In a world that says, "Be everything," I've learned to say, "Let me just be," even with flaws, even with struggles, even when I'm still figuring it all out. And now, just me. Outside all the roles, outside the expectations, I am simply a woman learning to know, love, and care for herself. In a world that demands so much from me, I've learned that taking care of myself is not selfish, it's necessary. I remind myself to breathe, to rest, to say no without guilt, to say yes to healing. There are parts of me I'm still learning to accept, my flaws, my fears, my dreams, but I'm giving myself grace, space, and time. Because before I can pour into others, I must be poured into. And that starts with knowing what I'm worthy, not because of what I do, but because of who I am in Christ. In Psalms 139 verse 14 says, "I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." That includes the messy parts, the tired parts, the unsure parts. I am a whole person, not perfect, but perfectly loved.
Ibigay ko yan. Ibibigay ko yan in an hour. Wala ko nakita sa dating ganun. Lahat sila, laging may bargaining. Ang tawag sa'yo, crazy. Di ba? Tingnan niyo first. Oh, how I love and how I think about your instructions. Okay, tawa kayo ng tawa. Totoo, di ba? Wala pa nga, tinanong nyo na yung Judy. Ang pinagawa ko pag tinatanong ko yung Judy, ngayon na. Gawin mo yan.
And as I come back to the essence of who I am, I find that all my roles are held together by the most important identity I carry, the one that defines my direction and anchors my soul. This is the most important identity I carry, not just what I do, but who I am. I am a disciple of Christ. Being a disciple is more than attending church or quoting Bible verses. It's about daily surrender. It's about aligning my heart with Jesus, even when the world pulls me in 100 different directions. In this modern world, being a disciple is countercultural. While the world tells me to chase fame, comfort, and self gratification, Jesus calls me to deny myself, take up my cross, and follow Him. In Luke 9, verse 23 says, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." That means I'm learning to say no to the things that distance me from God and yes to the things that stretch me toward Him. It means choosing integrity when no one is watching, choosing humility over ego, silence over gossip, prayer over panic. As a disciple, I'm not perfect, but I'm being perfected, not by my strength, but by His Spirit. There are days I fail, I say the wrong things, I make choices I regret, but discipleship is not about being flawless, it's about being faithful. I remind myself that Jesus didn't choose the most qualified, He chose the willing. Being a disciple also means I'm being called to make disciples, to let my life speak of Jesus without needing to shout. It's not just about preaching, it's about living the gospel in how I treat my classmates, how I serve my husband, how I love my family, and how I respond in the private when no one is watching. John 13:35 says, "By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." That's what I want to be known for. Not perfection, not popularity, but love. The kind of love that listens, that forgives, that stays. The kind of love that reflects Christ. And even though the world is constantly changing, trends come and go, systems shift, and cultures evolve, Jesus remains the same. In Him, I find consistency in a chaotic world. In Him, I find clarity in confusion. In Him, I find purpose in pain. So as a disciple, I choose to walk in grace, to walk in truth, to walk in light. Not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Because at the end of the day, I don't just want to be remembered for what I did, but for whose I was. And I'm thanking also to all my leaders who are constantly praying and praying and praying. So when people ask, how do you keep going in such a complex world? I point to them not to my strength, but to my faith. So let me end with this. How do I live in a contemporary and globalized world? With pressure, yes. With responsibilities, absolutely. But also in deep is my unwavering faith. As a BEd student, I seek purpose. As a leader, I seek to serve. As a friend, I seek to be present. As a daughter, I seek to honor. As someone who have health condition, I seek strength. And in all things, I seek God. One day, one role, one prayer at a time. Again, this is Regine Macanas-Serrano. May the Lord bless us all. Thank you.